Once you arrive at the exam room, please confirm that you have the correct number of exam booklets for your subject and all necessary exam materials. Confirm that you have the correct number of AP student packs and enough answer sheets as well. Note that the same version of the answer sheet, purple and blue, is used for both regularly scheduled and late testing exams. Contact me immediately if you notice any discrepancies. Be sure that the room contains the proper number of desks or tables and chairs, and that the students will be comfortably seated. Are they 5 feet apart? Are all seats facing the same direction? Check that the clock is in working order and that there is no subject-related information on the walls. Let me know if the room temperature is unreasonable. There should be pencil sharpeners and wastebaskets in the room. Post, exam in progress, and cell phones are prohibited in the testing room signs on the doors, and prepare for students' arrivals. If you are testing homeschooled students, post the appropriate homeschool code, which will be on the seating chart. As students arrive, mark the roster accordingly. Students should not choose their own seats. Assign seats to all students. Everyone must face the same direction. Students should bring several number 2 pencils with erasers, pens with black or dark blue ink, a watch, optional, their social security number, 1 or 2 calculators of the appropriate type for AP Biology, Calculus, Chemistry, Physics, or Statistics only, a ruler or straight edge for AP Physics. Note, protractors are not allowed. Their own school's code if they are testing at a school different from the one they regularly attend. A valid photo ID and their AP student pack if they do not attend the school where they are taking the exam. Their College Board SSD accommodations letter if they are taking an exam with approved testing accommodation. Please know that students are not to bring the following to the exam room unless noted otherwise in an accommodation: electronic equipment, such as cell phone, smartphone, smartwatch, laptop, tablet computer, etc., portable listening or recording devices, such as an MP3 player, iPod, etc., cameras or other photographic equipment, devices that can access the internet, or other electronic or communication devices, books, compasses, correction fluid, dictionaries, highlighters, notes, or mechanical or colored pencils, rulers or straight edges. Note that straight edges are allowed for physics exam only, protractors, scratch paper, computers, reference guides, keyboard maps, or other typing instructions, calculators, which are allowed only for AP Biology, Calculus, Chemistry, Physics, or Statistics, watches that beep or have an alarm, or smartwatches, portable listening or recording devices, even with headphones, or photographic equipment, food or drink, or clothing with subject-related information. Although students should already be aware that cell phones and other electronic devices are prohibited in the testing room, the general exam instructions scripts still include text for you to ask the students if they have these devices. If any student has one, ask that it be turned off and collect it. Make arrangements so that the device can be properly identified for a prompt return after the exam, using paper bags, plastic bags, etc. AP policy states that no one should be in the exam room except the students, the proctors, and/or the AP coordinator. The exam room must never be left unattended. All exam booklets are to be distributed individually. You are to hand one shrink-wrapped exam packet directly to each student in the order they appear in the bundles or as individual exams. Do not ask students to pass exam packets to others. Note that an 11-digit alphanumeric test book number is printed in the upper right-hand corner of both the multiple choice and free response sections. Certain items feature an additional Section 2 orange booklet. These orange booklets also have serial numbers and must be returned to the AP program. Check that students are completing the answer sheet in pencil only. Students should take great care in completing their identification information on the answer sheet and in using their unique AP number labels to label their answer sheets and free response booklets. Once general exam instructions for Part 1 or 2 have been completed, you are to move on to the actual exam instructions. Before the exam begins, please note the time. Be sure it is between 8 and 9 a.m. local time, or between noon and 1 p.m. local time. If it is before the start of the hour, please wait until the appropriate time to begin. Note and post the start and stop time for each section after reading the relevant instructions. Do not write the start and stop times in advance of the administration, or you may affect testing time. In general, students should not be admitted after the start of the exam. However, if a student arrives to the exam room late, but before the other exam takers have finished filling out identification information on their answer sheets, and the school considers the cause of the student's late arrival to be beyond the student's control, then the school may admit and test the student. A proctor should sit with a student after the exam to supervise the completion of any outstanding identification fields on the answer sheet. Note: schools are not required to admit or test latecomers. Students who arrive late must follow the directions of testing site personnel. Once the exam begins, walk up and down the rows and around the room. Check that students are working on the appropriate section and that they are using a pencil for the multiple choice section. Be sure that students are using a calculator on approved sections and parts only. Within the first half hour of the exam, make sure that the number of students taking the exam, plus the number of undistributed exam packets, equals the number of exam packets you received. If the numbers don't match, let students finish the section they are working on. At the end of the section, stop the exam and locate the materials. If the materials cannot be located, contact me for further instructions before resuming. While students are testing, complete the seating chart. At the end of the multiple choice section, students are asked to seal the open sides of the exam booklet with white seals, which are provided with the exam booklet. AP policy states that no one except the student may have access to the multiple choice questions. Proctors may not open exam booklets. Collect exams and answer sheets in the same order in which they were distributed. Check that each answer sheet has an AP number label and an AP exam label applied. Note that the U.S. History exam includes additional Section 1 booklets. These exam materials should be collected in the order stated in the exam instructions. After the multiple choice booklets and answer sheets have been collected, recount everything before dismissing students for the break. Be sure that your used booklet and answer sheet counts are correct. There is a 10-minute break between the multiple choice and free response sections. Students can't make any phone calls, reference textbooks or notes, or consult with teachers or students about the exam during the break. They can't send text messages, check email, use a social networking site, or access electronic equipment like cell phone, smartphone, smartwatch, laptop, tablet computer, etc., cameras, or other photographic equipment, devices that can access the internet, or any other electronic or communication devices. Students may have a drink or a snack at this time. Students may not leave the designated area without permission. If you have an additional proctor, the bathrooms should be checked during and after the break. The second half of the exam consists of free response essays, problems, and/or spoken responses. The free response section may have an orange booklet that contains the exam questions. The written responses must be written in the free response booklet, not in the orange booklet. Free response booklets are designed to include sufficient space for student responses. However, if the students require additional space to complete their responses, provide lined paper. They must print only their AP number, the title of the exam, and the question number at the top of each extra sheet of paper. After the exam, have students staple the extra paper to the page corresponding to that question. Students are not permitted to keep any extra paper that is provided during the exam. Note: do not provide extra paper for students to write drafts of responses or notes. The U.S. History test gives students a choice of several essay topics. These exams feature a sheet of labels with question choices shrink-wrapped with the free response booklets. When students unseal the shrink-wrapped section, the label should be put aside on the students' desks until completion of Section 2. At the conclusion of the free response section, students are instructed to apply the appropriate label on the front cover of their Section 2 booklet, indicating their essay choices.